Hello, guys. Good morning. Happy Monday.
Good morning.
Hello, teacher. Good
Good
morning.
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 Okay, well, today we're going to start reviewing. Let me share my screen. Okay, so today we're going to start seeing the service trends and the current reality that the service sector is having right now. And at first, before we start seeing all these service trends, I just wanted to come up with a quick review on what the CTGs of the UN are, because right now there is a huge importance on those goals that they want to achieve in the next years. And companies right now are applying a lot of those goals during all the things that they're doing and all the decision making that they are having. So first of all, I want to show you a video that will be a kind of a refresh on what you will probably know about it, but just for you to have it in mind and make that relation.
It happens to everyone. Waiting in line for your morning coffee, you scroll social media and news on your phone. What you find depresses you. Thousands of migrants are fleeing a civil war, risking their lives only to be turned back at borders. Speculations have sent the housing markets into a frenzy, and employment numbers are tumbling down. Journalists have uncovered a decades-long cover-up of child abuse by coaches and doctors within competitive gymnastics in your country. Closing the news app, you open your family group chat. Maybe one of your siblings has posted something funny, and at this rate, you could use some cheering up. The group chat has blown up overnight, and what you see makes your heart sink. Bushfires are raging again, and there's one burning only 2 suburbs over from where your cousins live. Everyone is frantic with worry. At this point, you walk away, coffee in hand, tense, miserable, and confused. You think, this can't go on. Something needs to be done. Someone needs to step up. We need a plan to fix all this social injustice, economic chaos, and environmental destruction. This is where the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, come in. Fixing the kinds of problems that bring your entire day down in the morning coffee line can't happen in just one way. The SDGs cover sustainability from different angles: socially, economically, and environmentally. They set global goals for the 3 Ps: people, planet, and prosperity. The SDGs form the heart of the 2030 Agenda, an action plan adopted by all 193 countries of the United Nations. They call for decent jobs, quality education, good health, gender and income equality, clean energy and water, biodiversity, and climate action. They aim to reach sustainable development by 2030. Governments play a key role in achieving these goals, but they're not the only players. Businesses, civil society, Indigenous leaders, academia, and the general public all contribute as well. You might wonder where they came from. The SDGs were born in 2012 at the Rio Plus 20, a UN conference on sustainable development in Rio de Janeiro, which was the largest conference ever held by the UN. Until 2012, there were different international agreements that dealt with environmental challenges such as climate change and biodiversity loss. And there were the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, that aimed to achieve certain social targets in developing countries by the year 2015. The countries meeting at Rio Plus 20 decided that a more comprehensive set of universal goals was needed to tackle the urgent social, economic, and environmental challenges facing the world. This kicked off the broadest consultation ever run by the UN. An unprecedented effort was made to get input from as many people as possible, particularly those who don't often get a say in international agreements. Over 10 million people around the world participated in the consultations and helped shape the SDGs. Apart from national governments, major stakeholder groups that were consulted included women, children and youth, Indigenous peoples, NGOs, local authorities, workers and trade unions, business and industry, scientific and technological community, and farmers. I am pleased to share some good news for people and planet, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said to a packed room of press delegates. The good news? After 3 years of negotiations and debate, 193 countries had agreed to a set of development goals more bold and ambitious than anything that has come before them. The SDGs. The due date for the SDGs is the year 2030, which makes the 2020s the decade to deliver. But how can we know if progress on any of these monumental issues has been made? The 17 SDGs are built on an evidence-based framework of 169 quantitative targets and 232 indicators that accompany them. This ensures that the SDGs are clear, concise, time-bound, and measurable, which helps governments and decision makers to include the SDGs in their planning. This means that we can keep track on each of the SDGs' progress. To achieve the SDGs, all countries are expected to set up policies and investment plans, and to use the targets and indicators to track their progress. They then report their progress to the UN. This is done through voluntary national reviews, VNRs, with a selection of countries reporting each year. Most countries, including Australia, have already submitted their first VNR. Governments are crucial in achieving the SDGs because they create and finance policies that support the goals. But all stakeholders have an important role to play. Industries and businesses in finding solutions for goods and services that align with the SDGs, and communities and individuals in supporting SDG initiatives and in holding governments and the private sector to account. Education, research, and innovation are all essential to achieve the SDGs, so universities, with their ability to create and disseminate knowledge and solutions, play an absolutely vital role. You can probably already tell that reaching the SDGs will be no small feat. All responses, from the global to the national to the local, even down to the individual, need to be coherent and aligned. But progress to date has been slow, so that it becomes very clear now that a much deeper, faster, and more ambitious response is needed from governments, businesses, and communities. Many experts say that in order to achieve the SDGs, we need societal transformations now that are unprecedented in human history and which represent a profound departure from business as usual. You may feel like the challenges are too big and too many. After all, you're just one person. But think about it this way. Every time you spend money, you have an opportunity to spend your money better. Every time you talk to someone, you have an opportunity to challenge their ideas for the better. You can seize these opportunities every day, 365 days a year. And of course, every couple of years, you have the opportunity to vote for the better. Not just in national elections, but in local ones too. That is an immense potential that lies with you and every other individual. The SDGs give us a roadmap for making the right choices and arriving at the right answers. Don't forget, together, we are 7.8 billion people. Together, we can make big changes happen.
Okay, so if you find out all the objectives that the CDGs is trying to implement, it will be related to the trends that we're having right now. And it's not just the trends that are in government, it will also be in all kinds of industries and companies, and also in consumer, what consumers are looking for. So that's kind of just for you to have that in mind. And throughout we go through the presentation, you're going to find out that they are really related to those. So we will start, this is like the general info that we're going to be searching for today. So first of all, we have the technology supporting business. And what I mean in this specific section is that the technology will be supporting business in order to have them make a new experience, a better experience, and to like get the customer have a better experience with the brand with technology. And I'm going to give you some examples and some trends that will be specific for that topic. Then we're going to be searching for power of information, because sometimes we think that information will always be related to customer analytics, what the customer wants, what are they looking for, and it will not always be the case. I mean, that's one of the most important information to gather, but there are other types of information throughout the supply chain that we can have in order to make decisions and have like a better insight. Then we're going to touch the human approach that we have been also talking about in other presentations, that most of the people are thinking that machines will cover what humans are doing right now, but that will not necessarily be the case. And we're going to focus also on that. Then we're going to talk about cross-industry collaboration. And this is like looking for a win-win situation between companies. And I'm going to give you some definitions of it there. Then we're going to talk about cultural diversity and the importance of it right now. And by cultural diversity, I'm not just talking about cultures or languages, but it will be going deeper on it and more in an inclusion way. Then we're going to talk about the post-pandemic evolution. During this 1 year and a half, the consumer has been changing, and the tendencies and the trends of the consumer will be changed, and also the focus on companies will have to change. So we're going to start. I will be giving you some quotes from other people, just for you to have like a different perspective of what I'm thinking about. So for the types of information, we'll have this quote that says, technology is best when it brings people together. So here in the tech support for business, we have the wearable technology. And I will give you there which part of the supply chain I think that it's more related to. So in wearable technology, for me and my perception is that customer service is really related on this. So in wearable technology, the customer feels like they are part of the company because they are physically wearing something to improve their customer experience. And one example might be, and the first one that comes into your mind can be like Apple Watch, which will be a wearable technology. And also you can think about Nike, and that they have this app that will tell you like a lot of information about your health and about like how many kilometers do you run, the temperature, and all other factors. So if you think about it, Nike will always sell like clothes or some articles of sports, and you having them like in your wearable as a wearable technology will make you feel that you are more kind of loyal to the brand and more connected to the brand. So it gives you this type of new customer experience. Other examples that I wanted to share with you might be, for example, in health industry, which will be like if you are using an Apple Watch, you have some insights on your health. It can also be sport, and it could also be in this example like Magic Bands. I don't know if you have heard about them, but it's like a band that you use when you go to Disney. And I want to show you a video feed so that you can have like a more understanding on what the Magic Band is and how it's related to wearable technology. Just give me a second. Okay, so I will put you this quick video just for you to have a background on it.
Disney spent $1 billion developing and implementing this, the Magic Band. Launched a little more than a year ago, Disney's Magic Bands are the perfect example of wearable tech done right. Worn like a watch and equipped with an RFID chip, the bands are currently used at Walt Disney World with plans to implement them at other Disney parks and resorts. The bands are free for anyone staying at a Disney resort and $12.95 for everyone else. For a more personal touch, you can even add various character charms to the band. For a small fee, of course. Don't forget, this is Disney. Guests can link their entire vacation to the band. It can act as a hotel room key, theme park ticket, and digital payment system. Heck, it can even unlock dinner reservations. It's the payment system that's really the key, though. The band links to a guest's hotel room, and users can just tap their wristband to one of the readers to pay for food, souvenirs, and other items. No wallet or cash necessary. Not pulling out the wallet has been great news for Disney. Maybe because the band doesn't total up your spending. If you want to find out how much you've paid for Mickey's merchandise, you have to save your receipts or ask your hotel's front desk for your current total. One analyst we spoke to, Richard Greenfield of BTIG Research, says that Disney is a master at easing the friction of spending, and that the bands use technology to enhance the consumer experience. They minimize time spent waiting in line, which means more time to enjoy the park and more time to buy things. This is probably Disney's goal, Various online forums contain posts about how buying things is so easy with the bands. One review read, "It was for some reason much easier to just put it on the room than before. I suppose since we weren't grabbing a card at all, we didn't feel like actual money was involved." Research shows that consumers are willing to spend more impulsively when paying is easy. Disney may not break out its sales data for the bands, but they're clearly helping. From 2013 to 2014, operating profit at Disney parks increased $450 million, or 20%. That's a lot of Elsa dolls.
Okay, so that's the example of the Magic Band. And I don't know if you have been experienced that kind of you were paying with your wrist and with the Magic Band, and it feels like so, like you don't feel that you're spending any money, you just feel like you're touching the band and you'll get whatever you want. And at the end of the day, if you think about it, Disney wouldn't like didn't change the way that they operate. They just include technology during their operations to have like a better customer experience and like avoiding uh, a lot of time in the queue. And they also added like you will have to be entering to your room with the Magic Band, or the photos that they take you there in Disney, you will have them on the Magic Band. So everything will be on there, and it simplifies a lot of things that maybe Disney some years ago didn't have. So just to have also a quick information on that, it gives you a lot of information. So the Magic Band, it will tell you how much do the customers expend in the Disney parks, for how long did they were on the parks, in what attractions, the time that they spend in a specific place. So it gives you a lot of data for you to later on start analyzing and making decisions out of it. So that's a good example. And just to have you like an update on it, it's not free anymore. During the pandemic, they start charging it. I mean, I think it's like $8 each, but it's like it's better to have them. I think in my experience, it gives you a good customer experience. So in virtual reality, I think that it's a lot of involved in operations. And just to give you an example of it, I don't know if you have heard about the new types of way to have an operation. So right now, what they're doing is that, imagine that I have to get a surgery and that the specialist is in another country, and I won't be able to move to that country to have the operation. So what they're having right now in terms of virtual reality is that the doctor that is in another country will have these classes of virtual reality, seeing everything, just him like trying to get into a globes, and there will be a robot like with me operating me through virtual reality that the doctor will be like kind of measuring. So don't be scared. It for right now it's just like simple operations. It's not like a big surgery or heart surgery or something, but it's a start, and I'm sure that it will give you like more options for you to have access to different specialists around the world. Also, another example that it can come to our minds, it will be in terms of sports and in general for, you know, like entertainment industry. So right now they're selling, if you think about like, I don't know, the NFL, the Super Bowl, it's really expensive to get to see the Super Bowl like in the stadium. And right now in virtual reality, you can, I mean, it's just like an example. It's not like in real life thing, but you can now be paying with virtual reality, having an experience in a cheaper way, and seeing everything like if you were there. So it gives the company like a better approach of new customers willing to pay for that experience. Also, another example that can come to my mind, it's when talking about real estate. So when you're selling a house or a building or something, virtual reality can help you a lot for them to visualize what they're going to buy. Sometimes when you're selling a building, or I don't know, the buildings that have a lot of offices and stuff and departments, maybe you will be selling the building before it even ends. So virtual reality will help you to have a better selling strategies. So I don't know if anyone wants to share like an example of wearable technology or virtual reality that can come to your mind. I don't know, anyone? No ideas? Okay, don't worry. So we'll begin, and if you have anything that you want to comment or something, just raise your hand, just for this not to be like a monologue. Okay, Jime, Jess?
Well, also I think right now they're implementing like virtual reality in roller coasters. So you have like a different experience if you take it with virtual reality and another one if you take it without. So like it's like you have two different roller coasters, but you actually only have one.
Oh my God, that's cool. I didn't hear about it. Thank you. That's cool. So we will start having like this kind of different experience to make, and it will be interesting on how they will be adapting it like in different industries. Okay, so continue to the information, how technology will be supporting. So information system. So I think that this will be also seen in across supply chain. So it will be any system that is developed for a company that can be used to optimize information. If only we have data being like not without being manipulated, it's like we're not having anything at all. It's not worth it. So right now, a lot of companies are investing a lot of money in these types of information system that can give us information and translate it into decisions, optimizing processes, etc. So this is like a real big trend. And if you think about it, the companies that are offering this type of service are growing a lot, and companies also are investing a lot in these types of services. And one of the examples that maybe most of us have been having touch with that will be SAP. So SAP is like a really big example of information system that it's growing all around the world, and it's not like the same SAP in all the companies that you are going to imagine. It adapts to what the company wants, and you will have like a special SAP for your company, and it's really useful. I have been using SAP from a lot of years now, and it gives you a lot of information. Okay, so on the other hand, so for sustainable technology, so innovation that considers natural resources and fosters economic and social development without the goal of environmental and ecological risk. So they're trying just not to being ecological, but reduce the risk that we're going to have in the future, or that we're having right now. So one of the best examples that we can think about is Tesla. So Tesla, I put you some bullets over there that what they're trying to do, for example, is integrating solar power and energy storage into every house in the world. I mean, it can happen in the future. Making vehicles autonomous, which is right now like kind of a trend, and governments are like trying to interfere in that. Sharing vehicles among others users, make all vehicles, trucks, etc. fully electric. So if you think about these type of sustainable technology, the main ideas can come from a company, but they have to have also government support, because they have to be involved. If you think like, I don't know, making all vehicles electrical, you will have to have like chargers all around the country, so that you can charge your car, and that will not be possible if the government is not intervening and supporting those changes. So it will be an important fact for us to know that it will have to be like a collaboration between companies and government. Okay, so starting and moving on to information, the power of information. Here we have a quote that says, knowledge is power, information is liberating. Education is the premise of progress in every society, in every family. So this is Kofi Annan, which was the former Secretary General of the UN. And for power of information, so as I've told you since the beginning of the class, sometimes we think about power information about information that comes from the customer. And that's not the only information that we can gather. So I put you just like different types of information that comes up from different time lapse of the supply chain. And at first we have information to find. So what does information to find means? It will generally be to getting customers to like my company and to creating the demand for it. So it will have like generating leads, people like following the brand, etc., and growing in hacking. I will give you a great example in that in just a bit. Then we have the information to improve. So once I have the customers, I have to improve my services, and I have to be looking for feedback. So I don't know, for example, marketing KPIs. So then we have the information to retain. That it's now that I have the feedback, I have to create the loyalty. And I don't know, it can be grading and having those types of information. So it will be information to retain. Then after it comes information to anticipate. So most of the times companies don't want to start like researching and thinking about possible risks and trends that can come up in the future. And sometimes in my perception, I think that that's a mistake, because if you wait for the things to happen and just like react in that same moment, it will involve more money on it. So if you start like investing money on analyzing possible risk, it will give you like a more perspective and an idea for you to have to be prepared for that, and not just like giving it at the moment. So an example of this power of information, it's Airbnb and Craigslist. So I don't know if you know what Craigslist is, but practically is you can put all the service that you want to offer, and you can look for the service that you are searching in Craigslist. So in Craigslist, you can find anything, like it could be houses or apartments to rent. It could be a specific service, I don't know, like for your home or whatever you can imagine. So when Airbnb started, they have to create the demand. So they have to information to find, and creating the demand will mean they will have this challenge that people will not being having like at the top of mind to Airbnb for them to be like staying at an Airbnb house. So they will probably go first to Craigslist. So what Airbnb wanted is like, okay, I know that Craigslist has the demand that I'm looking for, so I will have to certainly do like a growth hacking on it. So what they do is that Airbnb, if you like search for Airbnb and you upload your information over there, they will automatically be also at Craigslist. So you will not have to have like doing both of uploading your information in both of them. Because if you upload it in Airbnb, you will be also uploaded in Craigslist. And when that will be like for the point of view of a person like giving the service, which in this case was the Airbnb. And for customers, when you were searching in Craigslist and you see like an announcement that you liked for you to stay in, you will click on it and it will like automatically get you into Airbnb. So that's the connection that they made for them to start like having more customers knowing about Airbnb. So that was an important thing. And what they also did, I don't know how they do it. I mean, that's a lot of algorithms and, you know, systems and things that I'm not an expert on that. But what they also did was that every time that a person has registered it in Craigslist, they will give them like and send it an email for them to register to Airbnb too, like an invitation, like, hey, we know that you just subscribe it to Craigslist. Why don't you come here to Airbnb, and like, types of information for them to feel, like coming up to see the site of Airbnb. And then what they also were knowing in the type of information to improve is that no one was like evaluating the service. And what they did at first, what they offer like kind of an incentive of, okay, please give us your feedback and I will give you a 5% in your next visit. They were trying to do so, but at some point that was not working, and they were not having like any positive impact in the company. So what they realized is that they were not having like the best experience of seeing the site itself. And some great opportunity that they realized they had is that the pictures were not like enough and were not at the higher quality that they were expecting for them to have like a decision making. So they realized on that, and the Airbnb started to implement like type of courses and for them to take better pictures. And they implemented this 360 point of view so that the customers can know more about how the I don't know, the house or the department looks. So that helped them a lot to have more visits, to have more like a better response of customer service, etc. So I mean, this was like an example in the case, and the important fact on power of information here will be just for you to have in mind that the customer's insights is not the only ones that you have to be thinking of when coming to information. So we have a lot of information during all the supply chain that can make you have like a better advantage and a better strategy. Okay, so thinking about the importance of people ahead, behind a machine. So I have this code that says, machine's translation will display only those humans who translate like machines. So of course, there are things that will be automated and that will be doing a lot in machines, but that will only be for things that human can be replaced for. And in some cases, it will not be the case. For example, I have this information that it says power of information. And what I'm trying to say in here is that information, like if we have the information itself and we don't analyze it and we don't have the ending of a conclusion on it, it will not mean anything. And in order to have that types of conclusions and the decision makings and proposals and everything of that, we have to have a human behind it. And right now people are looking for companies to having this kind of an empathy and knowing that there's a human touch behind it, and not just knowing that there's a machine doing it and optimizing it. So just for us to have this in mind, you will probably know about this information, which is data analytics. So it's a science of analyzing raw data in order to make conclusions about that information itself. Then we have quantitative analysis, that is a technique that is used mathematically and statistical modeling, measuring, and research to understand the behavior. And then we have business intelligence, which in my opinion is like the best one, and it will probably, like business intelligence will probably have data analytics and quantitative analysis too inside of it. So it's like the leverage software and services to transform data into actionable insights that inform an organization business decision. So in business intelligence, it will be more about you proposing something new to generate a new business or to have like a better decision making in an organization. So just for you to have this in mind, in my perception, I don't think that humans will be like obsolete. I think that we need our brains and we need human talent behind it so that we can make this data transform into decisions, transform into new projects, into processes, into services, into products. So I don't think that's like a trend that we have to worry about right now. So we're also going to talk about collaboration. So I will just read this quote after we see the topics. So in general, the key finding here will have to be measuring a win-win cross-industry collaboration. So a company must identify its strengths and weaknesses and associate it with a company that can complement its supply chain activities. So right now, we should think about this last. We're not the experts on everything. Right now, I think the best thing for a company to do is to be objective and just find out which part of the supply chain I'm not that strong on it, and start looking for other companies that can offer me that. So here we have like different types of strategic alliances. And the first of all that I want to share is joint venture. So joint venture will be practically two companies joining forces and creating a brand new company, or sometimes to remain the same, but they use one another and they collaborate one another so that they can have like a better result at the end. And some examples of this can be banks. If you think about, like, there's a lot of banks that have been changing their names during time, and that is because they join forces with another bank and they like just and to be the same. That's a good example of creating like a new brand. Also, another example that companies being having this relationship of joint venture but staying separate will be, for example, Bimbo and C.H. Robinson. So C.H. Robinson is like a logistic company, services that they can offer to any company. So if Bimbo says, hey, I'm not that good in supply, in that kind of my supply chain in logistics, I have to have a support on that. So I will contract C.H. Robinson in order for them to give me that kind of services, so I don't have to be worrying about it. And I will start focusing myself in the area of the supply chain that I'm more strong to. So that's a good example of it. And something for us to have also in mind is that in some cases, in order for us to enter to a new market, we will have the need to make a joint venture. And an example of that, a very vivid example, is China. So in order for you to enter to the Chinese market, you will have to make a joint venture, like 10 out of 10, from a Chinese company. So if you don't have this joint venture, you won't be able to enter to the market. It's like kind of a policy that they're applying there. So you will have to be searching for this type of collaboration. Then in the other example is that we have equity alliances. So the difference between joint venture and equity alliance is that in equity alliance, you're just going to have like getting in a stock and having a part of a property of the company. So an example of this will be Tesla and Panasonic. So Tesla bought a part of Panasonic, and they still are two different companies. They have different boards of directors. They have different, like, independent in some kind of way decision makings. But Tesla was looking for Panasonic because if you think about it, Tesla is like an electronic and based kind of company, and Panasonic has these products based on on electricity that Tesla will be needing. And in some way, it's a good alliance for Panasonic too, because Tesla is a company that is growing a lot, and in the future they will like start buying a lot of things from them. So that's like a kind of an equity alliance that it will be a good example for that, and it's theoretically buying on stock. And we have also other strategic alliances, just for us to give us an example, is license, franchise, management, contract, turnkey, operations, etc. So if you think about this, it's like an example of one of the export modes, which is the commercial presence. So commercial presence have been a thing for over 100 years from now. And this is the type of commercial presence that we can find out. The examples that we have been seeing in class, a lot of franchise and licensing. And well, here I just wanted to mention another example of that as joint venture and equity alliance. So just coming back to the quote, it says, joint ventures, alliance, and other corporate partnerings are fueling the growth of the world's most successful companies. The demand to deliver more new products more quickly and at lower prices has never been greater. Joint ventures and other collaborative business arrangements are revolutionizing how winning companies compete. They permit companies to enter new markets and fill new products that they otherwise couldn't do on their own. They are the quickest way to grow your company, particularly in times of change. So yes, the best thing for a company to do is to look for these joint ventures, equity alliance, and any other strategic alliance that they can have in order to bring a better experience, to focus on what they're good, and just to make a win-win situation. Okay, so talking a little bit about cultural diversity will be this quote of Robert Allen that says, cultural differences should not separate us from each other, but rather cultural diversity brings a collective strength that can benefit all of humanity. So right now we do know that cultural diversity is like a valuable thing right now. And most of is not only that the companies are looking for it, but also the persons that are working, they're looking for cultural diversity and inclusion. And also as a consumer, we're looking and searching for companies that has this cultural diversity. Like, I mean, for sometimes if I go and buy a product and I know that they are inclusive in all of their stages of their operations, it makes me feel like I'm more empathy and I will be kind of more loyal to the brand because I'm looking also for companies to apply this. So just for us to have this in mind, it's valuing indifference in all aspects of the culture, and culture may not be just like languages and different countries and religions, but also like other types of involvement of people. So also it's avoiding stereotypes. You know, sometimes we put like a sticker to all the nationalities and all the religions, and it's not necessarily the case all the time. So I know sometimes might be hard and we just talk like, I don't know, the Mexicans are this way and the Europeans are this way. And it might not be the case and the best way for us to be inclusive. So avoiding stereotypes will be an important thing right now, just collaborating between all of us. So inclusion is not just hiring people or not just selling to every people, but it comes in all of the supply chains activity. So the way you market your product, the customer experience that you give, the HR, the human resources, how you obtain your people. So everything should have inclusion. And if you think about it, inclusion might help a company to grow, to have different perspectives. And it's not just like for you to have, oh, okay, I will gather a lot of people around the world so that they say that I'm cultural diversity and I have inclusion in my company. But it should not be that in that way, just to shake it up. No. So it should be like, if you think about it, different perspective, different way of thinking, different applications, it will help you a lot on creating new things and having a better decision making. So several heads think things better than one. So it's just for us to have this in mind, and it's a thing that is growing every day. Every day we're like putting different types of things in inclusion. And it's important for us to have it in mind. Okay, so talking a little bit about post-pandemic things and people having to start changing of what they're looking for. Here it says, as companies give more attention to importance of work-life balance, more and more people will be in a better position to decide and act more holistically on what's important to them. So right now, I know that most of us during this pandemic period, we have been searching for more, as it says there, like a more work-life balance. We have been searching for having more time with our families, and we have been changing. Like customers are not the same as was what there was before the pandemic started. So the post-pandemic evolution industry will shift due to new needs and new ones, and I think that's obvious. So this is information that Deloitte Industry Trends in 2020 made up. So as we have seen, and I mean, I think that's obvious, the on-site services went down. So, I mean, you were not able anymore to go to the cinema or go to a restaurant or go to vacation. So the on-site services were going down and the distance-based services were going up. So basically everything that was online and everything that was like kind of in distance, they started to grow a lot. But at some point and during the evolution of the pandemic, the on-site services are now coming again. So if you think about a lot of companies that were on-site services, they declared like on bankruptcy. So if you think, for an example, Cinemex, they were like, okay, we're practically closing like half of our cinemas or movie theaters, and right now they're starting to come back again. So on-site services, they were really affected, and most of the companies will not be able to return and give this experience and this service. But right now, I think that we're in a better place than when the pandemic started. So the focus will just be, okay, distance-based services are growing a lot, and it's important for us to have it in mind. And the on-site services, they might come back in a different, with different perceptions and with different experience and, you know, with a different mindset. And some of them will not be coming again, like at all. So just to have these factors involved throughout the pandemic, and this is kind of for industries to have in mind, like companies, and also for customers. So regulations included forced closure. So right now in here, we've seen a lot of examples of how government interact a lot with what happens in the market. And during the pandemic, it's like a clear example on, okay, from one day to another, the government just realized, I will be closing this, I will be closing that, and we have these new types of regulations. So it's important for us to have in mind that government it's like an important factor for the decision making that it's happening right now. It's our duty to be involved on that, to be informed who our government is, what are the tendencies that they're having, like in terms of decision making, what trends will they have coming up next. I don't know, maybe they will be forcing everyone to have the vaccination, or for example, they will start opening everything again, like you don't know. So it's important for us to have this in mind and just inform ourselves and be just ahead of it. Also, another thing that we're having a lot is the health risk for consumers and employees. So right now, because of COVID, companies and consumers are looking to be safe, are looking to feel safe when coming into, I don't know, for like a restaurant or any types of local that you can imagine. So we're looking for that. And maybe at some point, like in time before the pandemic, we didn't like put up, we didn't prioritize this like gel antibacterial or like the maskings or the distance, or like if you cough you will like just cover your mouth, or so people are looking for these types of health I don't know how to say it, but will be like taking care of consumers and of employees, which I think in my perception, they didn't even realize that in the past. So that's a good shifting mode. Also lower income and employment. So it's tragic, but nowadays we're having a lot of economic issues, and industries are in bankruptcy. A lot of companies have been closing, and that involves also employment. So we have a lot of people without any job for them to have money to spend. So they are they are prioritizing better what they want and how they will expend their money. So it's important for us to have that in mind and be more conscious about it. And also, I think that it's happening right now is consumer perception. And I don't know if it had happened to you, but in some way we kind of feel weird and we feel guilty when going out to have like dinner in a restaurant, or to go to a vacation, or to go to the movie theater. So we're kind of like, how am I going to be at the cinema, or how am I going to be traveling to Cancun, or I don't know, if there's a lot of things happening right now, like I don't feel safe, or what the people are going to say, so you will have to consider, you as a company, that humans like people will be looking for kind to feel safe and not feel guilt at the end of the day. So just for you to have into consideration all the health risks that they can have in the area that you're approaching to, so that you just make them feel safe when coming into the place and not feel guilt at all, like I'm doing something good and I should not be feeling guilty. So it's just like kind of a perception. I think that most of us have been like kind of having a guilt if I go to like for an ice cream and I see a lot of people there, or I don't know. So and new priorities emerge. So people are looking for new ways of expending their money, and maybe I don't know if at some point I will be all the weekends I will go out and be with friends and have a lot like with a lot of people, etc. Right now, maybe I will just be looking for spending more time with my family, and I will start looking for like places to do so, or just seeing like a couple of friends and not like a bunch of friends. So people are prioritizing, and they are having different taste on how they manage their money, their time, and just for us to have it in mind. And also, what is important to mention about these distance-based services is that pretty much everything it's online right now. So we have a lot of information, and we should just like consider and to make the most of it, of the information, new information that we're having right now. Okay, so just thinking about risk in 2021 and the post-pandemic, like thinking ahead. So right now, the reality that we're having is that the US is divided right now. So even though that we have Joe Biden, they have a lot of representation of the other party in the Senate. So that's like, the US is the bigger company, the bigger country in the world, is the biggest, is the more influential, so it's important for us to have this into consideration and to keep a track on what the government of the US is doing. And it's not just that the US is the biggest country in the world and is the more powerful and whatever you think of it, but it's also that we're next to it. So everything that they do in some way it can benefit us or it can affect us. So it's important for us to have a track on that and have the knowledge that that's the reality that the US is having. Okay, so then we have the health rollout. And I mean, with the health rollout, and the thing that is happening right now in nowadays is the vaccination process. So we will be starting to have this kind of issues of which vaccination is accepted in which countries. And, it's kind of geopolitics in some way. The government is really involved in that, because if you think about it, we cannot have any vaccination that is not from the government. So companies are not able to buy vaccinations for their employees, or we are not able to buy it like in Benavides or in Farmacias del Ahorro as it is in the United States. So here in Mexico, where reality is that we're in charge of the government, like at all, in terms of vaccination. And for example, in the US, what is happening is right now they're like trying to force people to have a vaccination, or in terms of traveling, if you want to go to Europe, you have to be vaccinated, and not any vaccine, but a specific vaccine. And also the United States is not accepting all the vaccinations, and who knows, maybe in some months they will start forcing the people that are entering to have the full vaccination scheme. So it's a reality. We will see how we all start to evolutionate. I think we're not in the best position. Maybe we will have to just wait to see what happens. And I mean, right now, also what we have to have in mind is that vaccination will be a thing. Like, I don't know, maybe right now it starts to grow and maybe it will become a reality in our future, such as the other vaccination that we have to have like every year. So it's important for us just to have this in mind and how it will affect or benefit all the stages of, it could be our work, our travelings, or our daily life. So just for us to have a mindset of health rollout will be important. So climate change, I mean, we have been seeing and suffering also the climate change here in Mexico and in a lot of parts of the world. So being more conscious about it, being like trying to research on what we can do to stop climate change, and for us to put like our support on that, it will be important. I know that this is not just a thing that us as a population need to do, but it's also about government, and it's also about companies doing and joining all the forces in one. And climate change is one of the things that the CDGs are in the top of mind. So we also have to know these, because consumers will start searching for companies that are sustainable and that are environmental responsible. Like, they are looking for new ways for less damage the world in general. So it's a tendency that is having right now, and we will be seeing like this shifting from a company to be more environmental responsible, and the customers too. Also, what we have in mind is the US versus China. If you think about it, when Trump was president, everyone just was thinking like, the United States will be the second country in the world. Like, China is ahead, and China is evolving, and China and China and China. So they pretty much start China to grow a lot, and the leadership that Donald Trump gave them was not good enough. So right now, the US is starting to evolve right now, and they're kind of like in the same way, competing in everything that they see possible, like right now in the Olympics or in the vaccinations. Like, it's a thing right now. And if you think about the US prohibiting vaccinations that are from China, it's a way of them, like in terms of geopolitics, to give them a side, to not recognizing them. So it's a thing that is happening right now, and it will affect all the aspects, like in an economic, like for companies, for governments, for us as consumers. So it's important for us just to have this in mind, that it's a reality and that it might escalate in the next years. And also, the last thing is shared data globally and cyber attacks in a new online environment. So as we know, there's more information. We are practically all day online. We do everything online. So if there's more information about it, like more information about what we do, about what we like, about our tendencies. So it's important for us to have this information and to use it and, you know, process it and try to find out what the new trends will be, because we have the information there, and that's a pro that the pandemic has been giving us. But at the same time, there's a lot of cyber attacks and more possible ways for them to hack you in the system. So hack you as a customer, hack you as a company, and also as a government, who knows. So people are growing in cyber attacks. Okay, so just for us also to not forget about it. So we right now have to be having in mind the quality thing. We have been having these types of information and news, for example, the Black Lives Matter that happened last year. So it's important for us to have it, and this comes also with inclusion. Also, human dignity, erratic of sexual misconduct, like being equal in all the ways, sustainabilities, new behaviors based on values, and as I was mentioning to you, customers are valuing these types of sustainability on consumers, on companies. So kind of also of nostalgia, consumption right now are based on memories, on creating memories and just like arrange those memories. So also the kind of experience that services are offering must have these types of empathy and connection to nostalgia. Social computers, so social interaction across all media. So right now there's a lot of ways of companies to make money. We have TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, I don't know, are plenty of them. So it's important for us to know how to use them in a correct way. And also the mental health. So new ways of dealing with the human mindset. Right now during the pandemic, where we have been in our houses a lot of time, and we have been thinking about more and more things. And this might not be a good thing for a lot of us. So just to have this in mind, everyone and has been having some, mental breakdowns or something, and it's just for us to have this sensitive and knowing about it, and not thinking that everyone is okay, just for us to have this in mind. And I would like to end the class just sharing, like, the secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not only in fighting the old, but on building the new. So if you think about all the generations, like from time history, we all have been having challenges, and we all have been facing new eras, new pandemics. I mean, this is not the first pandemic that we have been having, and all the years before we have a pandemic, there was new trends, new things, new obstacles that we have been fighting about. So let's not focus on, oh my God, I'm not able to go to college right now, like in presence physically, or oh, I haven't been able to have my internship abroad, or starting a new job, or I mean, we can imagine about a lot of things that we're not making and that the pandemic has been having through us. But I think that the best thing for us to do is taking the best of it, learning a lot. And I do believe that when we have these times, it helps us to improve ourselves and to look for new things and develop new things. And a lot of creations and a lot of things will come up, like good things will come up of this, and I'm sure about it. So that will be it about the trends. I don't know if you realize, but the CDGs that we have been seeing at the beginning of the class, they are a lot involved in what the trends right now are and what us as a consumers are focusing, the government too, and the companies too. So it's a matter of how it says in the video, it's a matter of how we all interact between each other, because I mean, we all live in the same world. It's the only one that we have. So we have to take care about it and just have it them in mind. So I don't know if someone wants to share something. What do you thought about all the trends? Do you have any other like trend that you want to discuss, like came up into your mind that you think that I didn't touch? I mean, I'm sure that there might be a lot of other trends in these days, but this was some of them. So if you want to, I don't know, say something, what do you think?
I just wanted to say that I like the risks part, since I think that those are the factors that we need to focus for us to as an opportunity rather than a problem for us to build a solution in the near future. And I also like that you mentioned some other factors involved, which sometimes we don't consider as well as usual. And I like the last quote too. I think it's we can start the week good, at least.
Yes, thank you so much, Raul, for sharing. So someone else wants to say something? Yes, Jime?
Regarding the trends, I really thought the cross industry collaboration was really important. Recently, I've been seeing like a lot of bands have been joining other bands either to expand or just to avoid disappearing. Like companies like right now in the pandemic, they have been like they becoming subsidiaries since they like are afraid of disappearing, and these companies are like, do you want to join me? And the big company expands and the small company will is saved from bankruptcy. And regarding cultural diversity, well, I also think that's really important since nowadays we have been seeing a lot of companies will disappear literally because they don't respect that. And that's like a key point of losing customers. I mean, if you don't have cultural diversity and one of your customers finds out, well, that's kind of your end as a company nowadays.
Yes, of course. And thank you for saying that. It's a really good example for you to come up with that. Maybe before the pandemic started, they were like joint ventures and strategic alliances that they were making, like all the companies, but right now it comes also to a necessity. So most of the companies will have been doing that in order to survive, as Jimena was saying. So yes, it's just a matter of fact of, I think that this will start opening new possibilities for new companies to succeed. So they will be having at the top of mind that it's a better possibility for them to just having a joint venture or a strategic alliance. And yes, also about cultural diversity is a thing right now. And I think that we all agree on that if we see that a company is a culturally diverse, we start like having that kind of, you know, like a loyal thing, like you will be liking the company more than if it wasn't. Yes, Raul?
Miss, may I ask you a question?
Yes, of course.
Yes. So according more related to this, well, with this pandemic and this actual situation, in which sector or opportunity or whatever for, you don't know, business or entrepreneurship, whatever topic you want to see, on which sector would you focus into developing something right now with this situation, like in your personal opinion?
Okay, so in my personal opinion, and also in what I've been seeing like in some friends, is like, first of all, health. So everything that is related to health and everything that, as I mentioned during the presentation, that maybe at some point we didn't realize it was a thing and something that we have to consider. Right now, everyone, it's like focusing more in health right now. So everyone is like, hey, I have to do my checkups. I have to have all my vaccinations. I need like the gel antibacterial. I need my mask. I need my, etc. So you're looking ways to feel safe in terms of health. So I think the health industry right now is like evolving a lot. And also another thing, I think it will be something that it's online. Everything, as I mentioned, we're always online, like all day we're in front of a computer or in an app or using another types of systems. So this is like a big opportunity for us to start developing new things and new ways of creating businesses through online, like cross-border things. I think that that's the most industry that is like right now evolving, and it might have new opportunities to think about like a new business or something. So that's like my own perspective. But I don't know if someone has another example or something that you think that might be starting to grow and it will be a good investment just for me to invest. No, I'm kidding. Like, are you, do you do you agree with me, or do you have any other example?
I mean, I don't know. I do agree with you. And for example, if you invest in the stock exchange, I would say go to pharma. Go to invest in pharma like Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson. However, I don't know if that would create like a clash with your ethics, because some of these companies have some very questionable practices.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you want money or if you want like to do the right thing. And I mean,
Yes.
you can do both. You can do the right thing and like have earnings. But yeah, I do agree that healthcare and well-being is going to skyrocket in the following years.
Yes, of course. And as you just mentioned, the stock market, I don't know if you knew, but when there's a crisis, like an economic crisis, the best thing that you can do is to invest in the stock market, because you can buy all the stocks like really cheap, and they will be start growing. Of course, you have to see and search and investigate on which company is the best thing to invest right now. Like Andres said, you can also invest in pharmaceuticals like Pfizer's and stuff, but it's also a kind of a perception and what you think like is correct for yourself. Everyone will have a different mindset, but if you want to invest in stock market, I think it's also a good idea, and there's plenty of companies that you can invest on, and I'm sure you will find out one that will be searching and having all the values that you're looking in a company. Jessime?
I also, well, now that I mentioned that, like right now we're seeing all the internet compare the video game industry. I mean, it was growing like but slowly before, and it has skyrocketed. Even Nintendo, I mean, Nintendo wasn't really doing, I mean, was doing okay. And right now its sales have skyrocketed as well because of the Nintendo Switch. I mean, people don't have a lot to do and they have resorted to video games. I mean, we saw it at the beginning of the pandemic with Animal Crossing. I mean, if we were in the pandemic, the game wouldn't have done as well as it did. And right now it's like a global phenomenon even nowadays. And also I think a good option for investing will maybe be like biotechnology companies right now, because I mean, with the pandemic and post-pandemic, I mean, that's the kind of the future of medicine. And I remember in my tech week, we had like to invest, and there were a lot of biotechnology companies that were like their stocks aren't like expensive because not a lot of people are focusing on them. And I mean, they are the future of medicine. So I think that's also an important area to look at, invest or to work with them.
Yes, as you said, it's not just like investing, but it's also work for them. Like it's a good way of thinking that you will be looking for a company that you know that will have a success in the future, and also creating your own values, so that when you enter to a company, you feel okay, and you feel that it comes with your ethics and the way of you think. to becoming part of a company that does the same and have the same values that you're searching for. And I think that that's important too. Like right now that Kime said that, for you to consider that, because if you're working for a company also that you don't feel that has those values that you are looking for, it will not be like good at the end of the day. You will not enjoy it as much as you will if you are in a company that you feel related to. So I don't know if anyone wants to comment another thing or an idea.
Yeah, and like from a business perspective, I think that this pandemic, or at least the effects of it, will be long lasting
Mhm.
in the sense that, I don't know, maybe like in 2-3 years, we may be somehow out of it, but for the near future, we will still be living like this. What do you think?
Yes, no, like the trends will be changing like for good. So these new trends that we are seeing right now, I don't think that they will be gone in the next few years. I think that it will be something that we will keep for the long term. And that's important for us to consider. That is not something that will be ending just right now, and we will have our lives as it used to be. But right now we're changing to a new reality, and we will have to be to adapt ourselves and be conscious about that. Yes, Paula?
Further, like complementing what Andres was just saying, that this is probably going to be a new lifestyle. This is also a huge window of opportunity for inequality in all senses, to further stretch the gaps that we've been trying to reduce. And it's actually going to be a lot more complicated to reduce the inequality, because now it's more dependent on more than just like the original factors per se that we had before.
Yes, so it might start being like more complex and just be like equality, looking for collaboration and everything. So yes, it will start changing, and maybe the things that we were doing before the pandemic will not be enough right now. So as we have been saying, all consumers, all persons have been changing through the pandemic, and we have to just listen to that, be conscious about it, and know that it's a fact, that it's reality, and that we will have to facing this not just for today, but for a long term. Perfect. I don't know if someone wants to say something different, and just like to end the class. No? Okay, perfect. So I just wanted for you to know and to have this in mind, the current trends of the services. And it's not only services. It might involve services in a lot of things, but also in our daily life as us as persons, in the government, in the companies. So it's something that is happening right now. And I mean, trends will be changing day to day, and it's important for us to be updated on those trends, just for us to have like the opportunity to change and not just get stuck in what we used to think and what we used to see that were the trends right now. So it's important for you to have this in mind, and that's it practically. So yes, Larissa, I will stay with you at the end. Perfect. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a nice week and a nice day. I will see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Miss. Have a great day.